I am going through all the perks, ammo mods, and field upgrades, testing every single base item with all 6 augments to test which ones are working, not working, busted, but also overpowered. Now, the next up on our journey is STAMIN UP, my least favorite perk in Black Ops 6 Zombies. But before we get into that, I want to also talk about there is a major problem in Black Ops 6 Zombies with fall damage. And Free Faller is the only thing that fixes that. We're gonna dive deep into that as well as zombies movement speeds, which augments are the best ones, and what you should actually use in hot foot as much as everybody else is. So let's just get right into today's video. So before diving in, I always have to give a disclaimer. Whenever I do any kind of testing, there's any crazy variances of anything about 6% or higher, I make sure that I go back and retest it until I cannot get the incorrect data. So there are a lot of detailed numbers, percentages, meters per second within today's video. So for the most part, if there is anything that is a little bit off, it might just be a little bit off by about 0.2 to 4 or 5 or so. But first up, let's just talk about STAMIN UP as a base perk. In today's video, we're actually gonna do it a little bit differently than we normally do, where today we're gonna kind of change based on how everything fits into each other. So with STAMIN UP being first, obviously STAMIN UP increases movement speed. The very first question is obviously like, how much does it increase? So ultimately, it doesn't increase it by like anything crazy. It doesn't feel significant at all either. I'm sure a lot of you guys noticed that. But for the most part, your base movement for walking is 4.49 meters per second. Your base running speed is going to be 6.07 milliseconds or meters per second. And then your base tactical sprint is going to be 7.9 milliseconds. Now, one of those other questions that I had was, first off, do you get gas if you tac sprint? Like as if you're actually sprinting in real life and you're tired. Do you actually get gas? And it's weird. You run about 35% slower after tac sprinting, which is kind of crazy. But then when we add on STAMIN UP, it increases by about 9.1%, about 12%, and then also about 19% for the tactical sprint speed for those 3 that I just listed off respectively. And the biggest thing that I think is huge to know is that zombies movement speed are so small. Like it's so low, like they're not moving that often. So much so to where you don't even need to get STAMIN UP even as a base perk early at all. Like this can be probably the very last perk that you buy. For the most part, up until around round 22, the zombies movement speed is about 3.76 meters per second, where your base walking speed is 4.49 meters per second. So you're running almost an entire meter per second faster than them, or just by walking. One huge tip for you guys is that I would not run or tac sprint as often. You can walk for a very long time, up until the mid rounds without needing to even worry about getting hit by zombies. So save your tac sprint for later. We're gonna talk a lot about tac sprint today as well. So this is gonna be very important. Now, as far as base running speed and base tac sprint speed, without STAMIN UP, you, for the most part, are gonna be able to outpace like the doppelgas. Like they do run pretty quickly, and you can get maybe about 5.87 meters per second down up to about 7 meters per second for the doppelgas, and like around 19. And at that point in time, if you are using tac sprint, then you're probably going to be fine just tac sprinting as well. Now, when I look at the actual tac sprint speed, because I want to talk about taking 85 meters, and this is what I do, taking 85 meters in the game and tac sprinting, running until my tac sprint refreshes, and then tac sprinting again, I decided to figure out what that speed is in combination. That's about 7.08 meters per second. So that's 7.08 meters per second for the base tactical sprint speed. If you include running for a while, like you are running away from a doppelgas, then that means that you, for the most part, are going to be running at the same exact pace as what the fastest doppelgas around 19 can run. So you don't have to get STAMIN UP overall up front. Now, you guys did have a question, and this is something that I want to be able to answer. You said something was noted. Actually, I want to know who. Bob the Builder 9509. Something that was noted about STAMIN UP and BO3, shout out to EZP40 and his high mobility video work. That was a good video. If you ever watching this EZP, continue making videos. I would love to collab or something because that was a really great video. So in that video, Bob the Builder says that it hard sets your sprint duration and mobility speed. Just for clarity, mobility speed is your speed. So like in meters per second. Obviously, like I do a lot more in-depth testing, so I would actually come up with the actual value. In that video, I think he kind of gave different values to those mobility speeds. Again, really great video. But so it's how long you can sprint, and then also how fast you can sprint. So it's saying that it hard sets it. I wanted to just make sure that I can clear that up. So it seems that weapon movement is completely independent of like an overall cap system, and that each like individual weapon essentially gets its own speed boost or its own set value or percentage. Now, this is probably because like we do have a very complex movement system within Black Ops 6 zombies, right? We've essentially got 5 movement speeds where we've got walking, right? Running, tactical sprint, now post-tactical sprint where you're gassed, right? And then we also now have omni movement, which could be considered a bunch of different movement systems. Anyway, but for the purpose of this, 5. We got 5 different base movement speeds that Treyarch would have to account for. By capping everything, it would not allow balance overall, like for everything. If you were to cap, the top base movement speed, and they were to cap the running speed, once you add stamina up, then also once you start putting on some different augments, it would not allow for balance. So it would just be locking itself against each other within the game. So there is no, in this case, and I did the testing for it just to check, but there is no cap system. Because of that, a cap by weapon class, a weapon, or like any sort of weapons, or the whole arsenal of weapons, right? Is just that cap would not work. Now, there might be a cap to the boost percentages, right? So like if it's a 12% boost, 30% boost, 40, 50% boost to whatever that percentage is, then that could make more sense. However, that would just be what's considered a regular boost in the case of Black Ops 6 Zombies, where for the most part, they're not giving us unlimited percentages of boost. They just assign it a specific value in that case. So that's just a regular boost. So I hope that kind of clears that up and like helps you out about the builder. I know you had a good question. I want to be able to answer it. By the way, if you guys ever want to know anything in depth like that, feel free to comment on any of the videos. But also, typically, whenever I start working on a video, I'll post on Reddit or on the YouTube community or in our Discord, which you can join. The link is down below, where I'll ask for any kind of question or feedback that you guys would like me to test. Not going deep to some testing. I love doing that because you guys oftentimes ask me some very good questions that I might not have even thought of. This question right here took me about 8 days to get the answer to. And I was able to explain it in like 2 minutes. So yes, that was very tough. That was very hard. But I do love these questions that you guys pose to me because it makes the video so much more in depth. So thank you, Bob the Builder, and also thank you to everyone else who always asks questions. That's Stamina as a base perk. There's not really much outside of that. I'll say that the super sprinter zombies don't start to around 40 or 41, I believe. And at that point in time, you're going to already have stamina, but you'll probably have stamina by the time you get to around 20 or to around 25 anyway. So I do want to talk about that. So let's go ahead and get into discussing all of these perks. And like I said, I want to do it in an order that kind of makes sense. Next up, I need to talk about increasing tactical sprint duration with the Dasher Augment. So first off, at a base, your tactical sprint duration is 5 seconds. Without stamina, if you continue running, then it'll take 8 seconds before you can refresh that boost. Now, with Dasher on, it does give you a 3-second boost, but it also comes with a penalty of a longer refresh duration. So just to kind of break this down a little bit, it takes 5 seconds. You got 5 seconds of attack sprint, 8 seconds to refresh while still running, right? And then it comes back for 3 seconds. You can attack sprint for only 3 seconds. It goes away, and you have to refresh for 6 seconds if you're continuing to run. Again, you can stop running altogether. You can do all that stuff, but that's just the attack sprint refresh time. And then 2 seconds, the third attack sprint, and then followed by a 6-second refresh duration. And then it just stays at 2 seconds, 6 seconds, 2 seconds, 6 seconds. If you just continue to run, you're just running, tack sprint, running, tack sprint. It would just go 2 seconds for a tack sprint duration at that point in time. Which, if you didn't know, let me know in the comment section down below. That will help out. But when you put on stamina, everything kind of changes to where, yeah, you still have that 5 second first tack sprint, but it reduces the tack sprint refresh, which is awesome just by having stamina on. And then from there, every other tack sprint is 2 seconds in duration with a 5 second refresh. So having on stamina definitely helps out with the refresh. If that matters to you, if you like to sprint a lot, but if you're very conservative with your sprinting, then you don't have to worry too much about that. And then once you do put on Dasher, this is where you get that penalty. So you get a 50% boost to your tactical sprint duration from raw stamina, not from base movement speed. And then you get a 50% increase, not like a positive increase, but a 50% increase to the tactical sprint refresh time. That duration is 50% once again from raw stamina. So you get a longer tactical sprint time all the way through, but you also have a longer tactical sprint refresh time than all of the rest of the times of your attack sprinting. So be very conservative and very smart in managing your tactical sprint. So let's talk about hard target, because obviously when talking about tactical sprint, now we talk about projectile damage, right? So hard target, while tactical sprinting, projectile damage is reduced. This is super simple, but it kind of sucks a lot. So you take regular damage when you're tactical sprinting without the augment. But with the augment, you take 25% less damage mitigation, or less damage, right? So it just does better damage mitigation from those projectiles. However, you have to be super intentional about your attack sprinting. Like, you have to be purposely using this augment in order to make this worth it. Like, it kind of sucks otherwise. But for the most part, this was useful during launch before Trek nerfed the Mangler spam because they had their projectiles getting hit all the time. And so take 25% less damage would be awesome. But you also only have 5 seconds of tactical sprint. And if you continue the tactical sprint, you got 2 or 3 seconds met. It's a challenge to use this if you're not constantly resetting your tactical sprint delay. So there's not much need to use this because you're probably not going to be running only when a projectile is coming at you. Now, what's considered projectile damage? Pretty much everything except for like the Abomination's eye spits. I was hoping that would be considered projectile damage, but it's not considered in that case. But other than that, most things that leave the enemy's body and comes at you is considered. Is it better than damage mitigation with Jugger-Nog? Nah, not at all. Not one bit. Actually, I'm going to pull this up. I want to show you. Instead, you can see the visual that I did just have. But when you look at this, I mean, the damage mitigation, 44%, 56%, 63% with Jug's hardened plates on. You get even more. Plus 16%, plus 14% more, plus 13% more with the plates on. So it's nowhere near better at a base, even with you only having one plate on. It like Jugger-Nog is going to be 100% better, and not even having you don't even have to worry. Now, I will say though, if you are using them in combination in tandem, if you do want to have on hard target and you do want to, get more of that damage mitigation, because you're doing a lot of higher round stuff where there are a lot of projectiles being tossed at you, then stack these. Make sure you're using hardened plates and hard target, and you're gonna be a rock star. You're gonna be you're getting a 25 plus a 16% boost to your plates damage mitigation already. So that'll help out massively. So let's talk about quarterback. This is a pretty cool augment. I like kind of the way that they went about doing this. So does using equipment slow you down or slow your running speed? Not necessarily. So if you're moving at all, like regular walking speed or regular running speed, then no, it does not slow you down while you're throwing anything. However, if you're tactical sprinting, it'll pause your tactical sprint in whatever duration it is, slow you to a regular running speed to throw, and then it'll speed you back up and continue. As an example, if we are running, we got 8 total seconds because we've got on Dasher, and you throw equipment while you're 2 seconds in, the other 6 seconds left, will data analysts can do easy math. The other 2 seconds, the other 6 seconds left of your tactical sprint duration that you still have is going to pick back up right after you go back to your regular movement speed, which I think is really cool. Great job, Treyarch, for putting that in. So it seems that it just brings all movement speeds down to regular running speed. So that includes using quick revive swift recovery, where when you recover, you can move much faster when somebody reses you or you res yourself, right? It'll slow even that movement down to regular running speed. However, it only pauses the movement for you. So I just want to be able to give you that example there. Now, this does also count for monkey bombs. I know that it takes a whole lot to time up the stumble monkey and all that kind of stuff. Throw it. That does also still count. Same thing. It just pauses like your tactical sprint or whatever that duration, whatever that duration is. I was hoping that quarterback might work for score streaks, but they don't get a boost, unfortunately. But one thing I did notice is that the Mangler arm cannon, with or without stamina, can be used while running without slowing down. I'm not sure if you guys knew that. You can just continue running and use it. So you don't have to ever, you don't have to try and get to a safe spot before you can go ahead and pull out like your Mangler cannon if you do that. So that's kind of cool, but you still can't use it while tactical sprinting. It slows you down to a regular running speed. So there you guys go. Then I want to walk into talking about hot foot. So gain a speed boost after your equipment kills an enemy. This was super easy, super cool. The only thing is you just move at 10 meters per second. That's all this does at a base. So hot foot brings your movement speed after you kill an enemy with some sort of equipment up to 10 meters per second. It's awesome. I mean, it's the fastest movement speed that we've got, right? When we look at STAMIN UP as a whole, I mean, literally you move 50 meters in 5 seconds. Now, with having a movement speed that fast, I must say that hot foot assigns you to 10 meters per second base movement while there is, enemies being killed, period. And it is also continuous forever. However, another cool thing about it is that all of the rest of the perks, augments, and things that you do that increase your movement speed, any of those buffs, that stacks after. So Hotfoot inserts you at 10 meters per second, and then everything else stacks on top of Hotfoot. I think that's really cool because I was kind of concerned whenever I kept testing this in different ways without using any buffs. And every time I got 10 meters per second, so I was hoping it wasn't hard capping us. So it does not hard cap your ability to buff, but you are just given a flat 10 meters per second, which is really awesome. So here's where I want to talk about fall damage. So fall damage in Black Ops 6 Zombies, it's fine. You don't take much fall damage. It's not going to kill you from, like a 10-meter height or something like that. Like that's not itself going to kill you. However, because of Black Ops 6 Zombies design, a few things. One, when it comes to Black Ops 6 Zombies, your health regeneration delay time is crazy. And if you watch my quick revive video, you will know that there's what I call the safety zone, which is the time until the health regen starts. So without quick revive, it's 6 seconds. With quick revive, it's 3 seconds. But then you've still got a bunch of time before your health is all the way back full, which in that case, if you did not watch the video, quick revive does about 40 HP per 40 milliseconds. So that's essentially they take your 250 HP. If you're at 1, it's going to take you essentially 2.5 seconds to fill your health all the way back up. That just means that if you have on quick revive, that 3 seconds before you start plus 2.5 seconds to fill all the way back up means that you're not safe until after 5.5 seconds. The issue in Black Ops 6 Zombies, and I'm actually going to pull up the game and show you. The issue within Black Ops 6 Zombies is that because, and you guys will never often get a live comms gameplay. The issue in Black Ops 6 Zombies is that because whenever you take any sort of damage from a zombie, from projectiles, whatever, it restarts the health regeneration delay timer which is really unfortunate, right? We hate that. That's why I say those safety times to start thinking about your builds. If you are running away from something, the only reason why you're probably ever jumping off of something that could potentially do any damage to you is because you are unfortunately probably in a bad situation of probably getting hit. Let me get to the area that I'm talking about. Okay, let me just get to the area I'm talking about, and then I'll be right back. Like, don't even worry. I'm just gonna easily cut straight to it, and it's gonna be just as fast as here. So as I was saying, you can see right here on the steps that if I fall from this height, I take about 1 to typically 3 HP of damage. The issue with this is that it looks so small. That's only actually about 7.3 meters or so, right? Just jumping straight down to here. So as you can see, that's about 7.3 meters. Now, the issue with this is if you're running around anywhere, and it's about 6.9 meters is when you start taking 1 HP of damage. When you run around anywhere and you get hit, for instance, if I'm running away from these guys, they hit me. If I'm just at the end of my health regeneration delay time, so let's say I'm at that, 5 seconds, 5.5 seconds, just about to start regenerating health, jumping off of that 7.3 meters area is going to reset that delay time, unfortunately. And to be honest with you, they should make it to where it does not give you that delay. That's really unfortunate. It actually should not work that way. So the issue with this is that you ultimately are trying to evade, and you take damage by trying to evade, and it still does not, it resets your health regeneration delay time. And that sucks. And free fall is the only thing that fixes that. And it is a huge problem. And before I realized that, because I think I was just assuming that fall damage did not count towards your health regeneration delay because you didn't do anything against yourself other than jump off of something that was intentional, right? That it's very different if you shouldn't jump off of something. I can get into all that. I don't want to get into that. However, free faller itself does remove all fall damage, which is great. I did want to know, what if you're thrown off of a building by an amalgam? You don't take any fall damage, which is pretty good. Some other results, this is actually a great augment, though, not only because it removes fall damage, but if you did not know, there is a fall penalty as well. That fall penalty is where you get a little bit dazed, a little bit winded from the jump, from any jump or any penalty, and it gets heavier. That penalty is heavier and heavier depending on the size of the fall. And so you'll notice it because you'll feel it when you fall, and you get that, it's really hard for you to get up and move again just as quickly. If you didn't know, that fall penalty is intentional. It is in there. And free faller also gets rid of that fall penalty as well. It's huge. So you're essentially always landing on your feet from whatever jump that you're doing. It's basically like allowing you to fall like a cat, and just keep on going. Like cat just falls and just keeps on going. That is huge. This is actually kind of one of the augments that I would heavily recommend using because of that one reason. If you do a lot of maneuvers, jumping and diving and things like that, it is that fall penalty reduction is huge. Next, let's talk about Stalker as our last augment. So Stalker is pretty complex. It's very complex. This also took so long to be able to test. Also, sorry guys for taking so long between the quick ride video and STAMIN UP video, because Stalker and all those movement speeds and stuff took a long time, a lot longer than any other video. It took even longer than the XP testing video, which is crazy. So I was testing a bunch of different weapons, and then I was like, yeah, I'll just do one weapon from each weapon class for the most part, and then come and just provide the details so that way I don't have to prolong this anymore, because the next video has to be on our newfound Perk depth perception. So the next video is gonna be on depth perception, so I need to get this video done. So Stalker is the last augment. It took the longest. Walk faster while aiming. So the current ADS movement speed just differs depending on the weapon. And this is also another way that I know that there is no caps to the movement or anything like that, because the ADS movement speed differs per weapon. It truly is very wild. They all have everything. And so it looks at these bonuses to movement with with a Stalker is about maybe 30 to 45, 50%, about 30 to 50%. It's kind of all over the place. At first, when I was testing some of the handful of SMGs and things like that, it kind of felt like about 40 to 45%. I want to say with this movement bonus, essentially just ADSing, you get about 30 to 50% movement bonus, whether you are strafing, walking forward, and walking backwards as well. You get huge buffs to walking backwards. So a lot of times that movement speed backwards is huge. And you can see here some of the actual speeds. Up here in this graph, I'm going to talk about this graphic shortly, but you can see some of the movement speeds. Like with the Marine SP, you can walk faster, but you can walk backwards 3.19 meters per second, which if we go back to most zombies, that means you can walk faster backwards than most zombies up to around 20. I mean, right around 20, which is pretty cool to know. Overall, with the Augment, you get about 40% buff to your strike speed. With moving forward with the Augment, you get about 42-ish%. Then on average, with walking backwards with the Augment, you get about 37, 38%. So it's boosting your movement speed, buffing your movement speed by just around 30 or around 40% on average. I will say though, that you do get significant increases from if you don't have on this Augment. What I mean by that is if you only just have on raw Stamina Up or Stamina Up without the Stalker Augment, you're only getting about 10%, 9%, 10% and boost to your movement speeds. So it does make it to where this Augment is very effective and very useful if you are like one of those movement gods, right? I would say if you're using Free Faller, becoming immune to fall damage is huge. If you jump off a lot of stuff, if you're on, for instance, Terminus has a lot of spots. Terminus actually has about 7 drop locations where you take damage, and it's like 2 to like 10 HP. But Citadel de Mort has the bridge, right? And that's essentially it, just the bridge. So you don't really need Free Faller on Citadel de Mort. You don't really need Free Faller on Liberty Falls either. There's, I think, outside of Bank and a couple of stairs, there's really not any other place that you're going to be taking fall damage. So, but Stalker is not for if you're jumping around. Stalker is going to be great for in case you're just somebody who does a lot of movement. So I would highly suggest Stalker for that purpose if you are doing a lot of movement, but you don't do much of that jumping and stuff. So like if you're on Liberty Falls or Citadel de Mort. Now, that is a whole lot of numbers, a whole lot of percentages, and a whole lot of meters per second. We had a whole lot of, oh, you have fun. I have fun. Well, not whenever Treyarch would. But if you did have fun, I really appreciate it if you guys go ahead and give this video a like. Let me know down below if you learned anything new. I mean, Stamina Up is a really easy perk. I probably could have made this video for about 10 minutes, but I like to, you know, put my little swing on it, you know, put my little swing on it a little bit. Also, again, I do apologize for taking so long to get this video out. But guess what? You guys are subscribing like crazy over the last few weeks while I was on vacation doing a bunch of other things and doing these videos. So thank you guys so much. And if you had not subscribed yet, what you waiting for? It's free. Hang out. Chill around. Just know that I will be going live on the day that this video is posted, and I will be live that you can check out. You can come over and ask me much more in depth because I didn't actually go over all the data that I have here. So if you want to know about how I did any testing, what I did on any additional questions or anything like that, we're going to be playing with your guys' favorite Augment builds for Stamina Up and also testing a lot of stuff. So drop by the live stream, hang out with us. I'd love to have you guys around. But with that being said, guys, have a beautiful goddamn day, and I will see you guys in my quick revive video that I talked so much about today. Yeah, go ahead and click the video. That's how YouTube knows that you like me. Just go ahead and click the video. Oh, wait, I'm clicking to see I wasn't. Get me off this camera. Wait, am I done? I am done.